It is my honor and it is my privilege to present to you a minister in his own right, a dear brother, a beloved brother of this church, and really a pillar of our community. Won't you please give God praise as we welcome Brother James Fields.
Well, in Ecclesiastes, Solomon wrote that to everything there's a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones, and a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing COVID, a time to gain, and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to throw away, a time to tear, and a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time of war, and a time of peace, and that's what he said. Yesterday, my youngest brother, his son graduated from, I had to write it down, Colorado State University, and my brother is the social media guy, bless his heart. He's Facebook, this here, that, they're TikToking and me-mocking and, you name it, that's him, all right? And so, but he's very family-oriented, very family-oriented. And sometimes I wonder, where did he get it from? Because he didn't really get it from our dad, all right? Bless his heart, but no. My dad was the I feed you dad. Y'all had that dad? I feed you, I put a roof over your head. That's all I got to give. And for years, I was like, man, what's wrong with this dude? Then I looked at his dad. I said, he can only give what he received. You see? And so where my brother got it from, maybe my brother got it because, well, he longed for it. And since he didn't get it from his dad, he made sure that he would give it to his family. And so he texted us, I guess it was around about 10:30, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock yesterday morning. And I'm preparing. I'm like, oh, God, what am I doing here? Trying to get this thing together. Deshaun's graduation service going to be on at noon. And I'm like, John wanted me to have the slides at noon, and I'm on slide 1. How's this going to work, right? And I'm getting together. But I'm glad I stopped. And I'm glad I took the moment, back and kind of listening in the background. Because the student speaker for the ceremony was a lady, and I wrote her name down. Her name was Mary Kay McCarty. Mary Kay was about 80 years old, graduated in 2021. She got her bachelor's in applied social science. We talk about time here, 5 kids, and she decided to go back because she looked and saw that all her kids had degrees. Husband at some point went back and he got his degree on the GI Bill. He went into the service and all that kind of stuff. And so she decided somewhere at 70-something years old that she too. But as she was doing this, husband was beginning to decline from dementia. But yet she still pursued. And I'm looking at this lady going, what's my excuse? What's my excuse? And as she told the story, I'm just like, okay, God, I'm glad I took a moment to pause from that. Because, see, for her, this was a time for her to graduate. And she said she had her graduation ceremony and her 80th birthday. I think she said she celebrated them at the same time. And I'm like, I can imagine what kind of celebration. You talking about picking them up, putting them down, picking them up, She was probably picking them up, putting them down. And she said that even as she was going through the husband, because he was declining, he would ask her every day, is this over yet? Is this over yet? Because he didn't quite understand what was going on. And she said it was trying, it was challenging, but she stuck with it, you know. And I think of so many things that we, half that age, we give up on because it became a little challenging and we stopped, you know. But look, there's a time for challenges and there's a time for victory and easiness and all that kind of stuff, you know. So, but, you know, here comes the time for me. In just a few days, July 1st, will mark the beginning of the end. You go, huh? That's retirement day, baby. I am picking it up, putting it down, and, you know, look, I'm putting it down. And it's so funny that I've told very few people that I'm retiring, but so many people around the building know that I'm retiring. I think they're kind of jealous. Like, dude, you getting out? I'm like, I'm flying away, dear Lord. I'm flying away. And I think COVID really kind of put the pin in it. You know, being at home. Look, to me, though, working from home was fantastic. You know, I got up in the morning. I didn't have a first period class, and on the second day, I didn't have a fifth period class. So my classes didn't start at 10 o'clock. I'm rolling out of bed at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, this is great. But the challenge was dealing with those kids in that environment. You know, they were not equipped. We were not equipped. It was just like today on, I think it was the 13th, Friday the 13th. Today, you guys are here. Monday, you're going to be home working on this platform that most of us had not ever worked on. And the kids too. Oh man, half of them would never show up, or if they did show up, you know, they had the cameras off. I didn't know who they were. You know, we got back in the building. Hey, Mr. Fields. Hey. I was in your class. You were? All right. What was your name? Billy Joe. Okay, Billy Joe. That was it. Because, you know, without really talking to Billy Joe and associating his name with Billy Joe was just a name and a blank. As a matter of fact, on the screen, he was a block with his name. All right. And that's why, look, I'm very, I say adamant that on them Zoom calls, I usually keep my camera going. Because, you know, I remember how I felt when I was on the other side and I'm looking at 32 names. That's all I saw. 32 names. I didn't know Joe from Mary from Steve, you know, just 32 names. But I am looking forward to this moment. And so, you know, with retirement comes one big question. Now what? Now what? Mr. Fields, what you going to do? I do know. I do know. And so I hope that as we go through the next few minutes with you, that you will see that perhaps there is a time for everything. And then as the Lord takes me into this new season, that he will give me time to do some things that I was not able to do, or time to do some things that I was distracted or just too tired to do, or whatever the case. Things that over time I've gotten away from. And now he's saying, come back. Come back. So, but you know what? As I was preparing, I was like, okay, so what shall I say? You know, and it was amazing. God just started downloading some words. It was just words. And I learned, pastors taught me well. He said, well, if you don't write it down, you're going to forget it. And I grabbed out my phone and I started just writing down words. And some of them made no sense. But the strange thing is all of them started with R-E. They all started with R-E. And the first one was rest. What will I do when I am done with Wheaton High School? Rest. I laughed and I told somebody, I said, on the first day of school next year, I'm going to set my alarm to wake up at 5:30 and go, hey, Google, go back to sleep. If I can learn, all you have to do is say stop. Just say stop, and she'll shut up. Stop, and then roll back over and go, this is what retirement's like. But look, but as we talk about rest, though, here's the rest we talk about. We in Genesis 2:1-2, it says, thus the heavens and the earth and all the host of them were finished. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from his work which he had done. Well, this was the personal Sabbath of the Lord. All right, that was godly rest. But I'm not really talking about that kind of rest. That's great rest. And look, none of us believe that really God really needed to rest. He rests because, well, the work was done. I'm done. And then in Matthew 11:28-30, it says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden. In other words, you weighed down. You weighed down, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. When I read that too, I said, what is the Lord just said, what should I learn from him? Learn how to be gentle and learn how to be lowly in heart, humble. That's what he said, learn from me. Learn how to be gentle and humble in heart. And I'm like, God, yeah, I like that. That spiritual rest, that all sounds good. We're going to get that rest. But here's what I had in mind. Just, that's it right there, baby. Rest from toil. Look, I call that my personal Sabbath of me, just to rest. I told someone that, listen, my brother asked, he said, so what you going to do? I said, I'm going to probably take about the first month and just clean up the dust around my house. I can probably take a 30-gallon bag and collect all that dust and fill that bad boy up and put it out. Just things like that. Now, that's not really rest. I don't know if anybody thinks dusting your house is rest, but I pray God gives me the time that. Then after I finish dusting the house, I'll go rest, take my nap. But work in itself, it's not a curse. It's an opportunity to use our abilities and the opportunities in cooperating with God and being faithful stewards of his creation. See, and we think work, work, I gotta work. But after man sinned, work became toil. Right? And in Genesis 3:17-19, it says, and then Adam, who was then the gardener, he said to Adam, because you have heeded the voice of your wife and have eaten the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for your sake, and in toil, long, strenuous, fatiguing labor. You shall eat of it all the days of your life. And see, this is the rest I'm looking for. We get up and we go to work, and we call it work. And look, Pastor just got up here and talked about the lessons and that he prepares for us, and that's work. I truly don't believe that for him that's toil. That's work. It's what God has called him to do. It is how he glorifies God. Those of us who are going to be called, and I pray for you too, as for those who are going to come behind me and you're going to be speakers for the season, I pray too that you will do work, that you don't find it as toil, but getting up and teaching, a part of it felt like work. I enjoy at times just sharing with the kids and teaching them of the things that I know. All right, one of them is geometry. And I also taught like a business finance course. All right, that's good. That's work. That's things that kids need to know. A checkbook, what's a checkbook? I know we don't use those things very much nowadays, but because you got Cash App and Venmo and Bingmo and all these other things that people are using for cash. Now when I go I remember the day going, if I got paid, you had to go and you got in the drive-through line and you took your check, you signed it, and then you put it in that little canister and and then sometimes it got stuck. It came back to you with your little deposit slip and Saturday morning. Oh, when Saturday banking came around, that was just beautiful. Because now you can go Saturday banking. But nowadays you go, ooh, I got a check. Deposit. Done. It's a thing, And so when I'm talking to these kids about things like that, showing them how to do their income taxes, that's work. It's the grading their papers and the this and the responding to the numerous emails, and now that part feels like toil. You see? So, but I'm glad that after 22 years of working at Wheaton High School, and I've been there all my career, at Wheaton High School, right down the road here, and I'm glad that now I can step away. I spent some time at UPS working. I'm sorry, toiling. Because that was toil. They say they were the tightest ship in the shipping business. They meant that. They paid you well, but you worked hard to earn that money. But at the end of the day, it afforded me this and living and that. And so we do what we got to do because, look, when Adam, kind of messed things up a little bit for us, Adam the gardener became Adam the toiler, right? And he passed that on to his seed. And so, look, why should we expect anything less? God is going to have some things that we're going to do, and it will be work. That's a good thing. And, well, there are going to be some things that we're going to do. We're going to feel like it's toil, right? So, look, here's the other thing. The next thing you put on my mind was a time to refresh. A time to cause and permit one to cease from any movement or labor in order to recover and collect one's strength. I kind of look at rest and refresh sort of like Febreze and Tide. See, Febreze, you just kind of, and you get a refreshing. I'm able to recover. I can put this on one more day and I can move. Tide means I'm going to clean that bad boy up. And even with Tide, I got to put the laundry in, and we say, I'm doing laundry. What are you really doing? You just put it in the machine, close the lid, push the button, and walked away. Yeah. And then you went back and take it out, put it in the dryer, right? I grew up in South Florida. I was poor. I was the dryer. Look, and it was so hot down there, if you hung up a sheet, by the time you hung the sheet up, got to the other end of the line, and put one or two more things, it was dry. All right, it was dry. So that was my growing up. But 1 Corinthians 16, 17, 18 says this. It says, I am glad about the coming of Stephanas, Fortunatus, and Achaicus. For what was lacking on your part, they supply. For they refresh my spirit and yours. Therefore acknowledge such. In Philemon 1:7, this is Paul again saying, for you have great joy and consolation in your love because the hearts of the saints have been refreshed by you, brother. And then later on in the same book, there's only one book, he said, yes, brothers, let me have joy from you in the Lord. Refresh again my heart in the Lord. You see, and when I I was thinking about refreshing. I'm thinking about me being refreshed. Yeah, Lord, refresh me, Febreze me, you know. Let me just give just enough strength to get on and do what I got to do. But then I read these passages. See, and then the Lord said, no, it's not about you being refreshed. I want you to be the refresher. And see, it's not just for me. Because, see, think about it. Who's in our lives that we can just maybe daily, constantly refresh? The refreshing ain't got to be, I did something great this morning. Richard texted me, brother, Ann and I are praying for you. That refreshed me. John grabbed me aside. Brother, I'm praying for you. See, that was refreshing. You know, last night, Sister Sabrina and I, and who else was? And Sister Gina. You know, we were on the prayer call, and you know, Sister Sabrina said, "I'm praying for you for tomorrow. You know, that you'll come through, that you'll do what you have to do, or you do what the God will have you to do. You know, that's refreshing. But then, what am I doing to refresh? Right? Well, we can do a lot. There's a lot that we can do that would just encourage, that would give someone, you know, on Sunday mornings, pushing those carts off that thing and rolling them at 60, soon to be 62 years old. That's a challenge, young men. What can you do to refresh the olders and refresh those who are behind you? All right? So, whatever it is. And look, and don't get upset. Well, Brother James didn't refresh me. Well, maybe you wasn't the one I was supposed to refresh. Maybe Sister Margaret's your refresher. Who did you refresh? All right. So anyhow, guys, I just encourage you to be an encourager. That's it. Who has God put in your life? It can be your children. It can be the neighbor. It can be maybe the guy just walking down the street. And the Lord may say something to him. You know. And it can simply be, hey, how are you doing? You know, enough that you acknowledged who he was or she was. And that day, they did not feel invisible. You know. So wonderful, 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 I tell you. So now, the other thing God had on my heart was replenish. To fill or build up again, or to fill with inspiration and power. So I was focusing more on that second part, to fill up with inspiration and power. Because see, in Genesis, it said, God blessed them, and he said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish your earth and subdue it. And then he said the same thing to Noah. In Genesis 9, he said, God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And I'm like, well, God, that's a nice way of using replenish. But I don't think that at this age that I'm going to be replenishing the earth. Maybe he did it for Abram and Sarah. The miracle child came around. Well, that's the second one, not the first one. But anyhow, you know, but if that is what he calls me to do, then that's what, if, you know, I got one son who's my seed. And, you know, truth be told, I don't know if he has children or not. I haven't seen him in a while, you know. But I said, well, if I walk past some kid and I look at that kid and go, well, I be dog. That boy looks just like me. Then I may think, well, we're replenishing the earth. My seed is giving seed to others. But, you know, I looked at it this way. Romans 5:13. Now may God of hope fill you, replenish you with all joy and peace. This is what I'm hoping for. That as I get to settle down a little bit, that he would just fill me with joy and peace. It's in me. It's already in me. It's in you. If you have received him, it's in you. Somehow you just got to know how to tap into it, But I ask that he fills me with all joy and peace in believing, and that you may abound in hope and in the power of the Holy Spirit. See, in Ephesians 2:14, it says, "For he himself, Christ, is our peace." You see, so long as I got him, long as I got a hold of him, I got peace. This morning driving in with Brother Mike said something had happened. I hope he doesn't mind me, just kind of telling the story. Something had went on at work, and he said, well, man, I was kind of shocked, that the person would say such a thing. And I said, Mike, let me tell you, not that I'm anesthetized to the things that are going on in the world. I was brokenhearted to hear that some kid goes up into a school and he shoots up 18, 19 children and takes away a teacher and another teacher. And then to even hear a day or two later that the husband passes away. I said, Mike, I'm brokenhearted, but I'm not shocked that anything like that would happen. Because God has put this peace within me that even when things like that, people say crazy things about me. And let me tell you, I'm still a work in progress. All right. Because I'm still saying, Lord, when I'm behind that wheel driving, them people out there are driving me, they're driving me nuts. Give me peace, And little by little, he's allowing me to just find my calmness in driving. Look, in a little while, I ain't going to have many reasons to get up and go anywhere. Sunday, Brother James, I'm going to look like a hermit. Beard all down here. Because Sunday is about the only time I'm going to get out and go out. Amazon is going to be my friend. Uber Eats and Giant, whatever they call it, Meapod or Peapod, or just bring it to the house. Leave it on the front door. Leave it on the front door. I'll come get it later. That's it. So, yeah. I think about this song, Tasha Cobbs, the one that she says, fill me up, and I pray that the filling up, the replenishing would be God and his Holy Spirit, that spirit that he fills us up, and then the problem is, though, with the filling up is he fills us, but there's holes in the bucket. And as he fills us, it leaks out. But then we just ask to be filled again. God, fill me again. That peace that I had, it sort of dripped out. I talked to my family. Peace dripped out. Fill me again. I went to work today. Sister so-and-so cussed me out. Peace dripped out. Fill me up. Restore me. Give me back that which she tried to take. Don't even let her take it. I told Brother Mike, I said, you know what I was saying? He was like, what? I said, okay. He was like, what? Yeah. When they would have said whatever they said to me, I would say, okay. I'm going about my business. Have a nice day. Because you can't change what people, every single day I'm going up in that classroom into the same kids saying, you were late yesterday, you were late Tuesday, you were late Wednesday. When you going to change? I'm sick of you being late in my class. And guess what he does on Monday? Shows up late. You can't change people. Yeah. Something within them is going to have to click. Maybe something I may say may help with the click. But when it clicks, you just got to wait for the click. You got to wait for the click. So next I said, now, as I was putting this together, I tell you everything was R. Reposition, and I'm praying that as I move forward and as we all move forward, that there'll be that time in our life when God says, okay, it's now time to reposition. It's now time to realign what you're saying, you know. And so, let's look, difficulty is going to come. It's going to come. It's going to come. What are you doing today? I'm trying to avoid difficulty. Keep trying. It ain't going to happen. All right. It's not going to happen. But when it comes, that might be those moments when God says, okay, get back in line with me. You know, the story I thought that was just perfect for this was the parable of the lost son. And I always like to look at it as the parable of the loving father, you know, because there's more emphasis on the graciousness of the father than there is on the sin of the son. Well, the story goes like this. A certain man had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, "Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me." And so he divided them to his his livelihood, and not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and journeyed to a far country. There wasted his possessions with prodigal living. But when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in the land, and he began to be in want. Then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed swine. And he would gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate. You see, he had gotten out of position, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself and he realized that I am no longer in position, I am no longer aligned with my father. Because see, in my father's house, it was good. My father had enough to send me away, you know. How many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father. And I will say, Father, I have sinned against you, and before you I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me one of your hired servants. See, he realized that this is where he should have been. This is where he was. The servants were here. The servants were better positioned than he was to the father. He was saying, just make me a servant. That would kind of get me back in line a little bit. I may not be back where I want to be or where I used to be, but I'm not over here anymore. You see? And so he was like, just make me a servant. But here is the beauty of this story. He rose and he came to his father. But when he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. Now, I don't know if that father was just happened to be in the field that day, plowing and doing this and doing whatever the father's supposed to do, and looked up off his mule and go, there's my son. Or I don't know if that father was at home looking out the window from time to time, just praying and hoping that somewhere over the horizon he would see that boy coming. But whatever it was, the story doesn't tell us that. You know, that father saw his son, and he said, that's my son. And he ran out there to that boy and embraced him. And he said to him, bring out the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet, and bring the fatted calf here and kill it. And let us be merry, for this my son was dead and alive again. He was lost and found. We focus on that part. He was lost and now found. All right. But the father was saying, son, I'm going to put you back in position. You needed to be, you out of order. Get back in order, you know. And so, you know, here's what the Lord is saying with us. in that same story. You're still my child. I don't care how you messed up. I'm still waiting for you to come back. Go out there. Be foolish if you wish. I'll give you time. Get it out, like my parents used to say, get it out your system. Get it out your system. But when you come back, I'm still here. I'm still here. And our Heavenly Father's the same way with us, you know. And so as I sit and as I go through this time, I'm saying, now, Lord, where are those places? Where are those places in my life, where I've gotten out of line? Right? The times that I used to sit down and I would read your word and I would read your word, and now I just kind of skim through it. Get back in line, James. You know. Listen to this, listen to that, listen to that. Now I don't listen anymore. Get back in line, James. You see? So I'm praying that, Lord, as I move from this place to that place, that he just has me do some things that are for him and for others. You know, for others. You know, I got remember and recall. So remember and reflect, right? Remember and reflect. Now, is that the one that I put the wrong? So that says bring back to mind and to quietly think, you know. And so I looked at this here in Mark 8:13. And in Mark 8:13, and it's talking about Jesus. It says, Jesus had left them and getting into the boat again, departed to the other side. And now the disciples had forgotten to take bread, and they did not have more than one loaf with them. And then they charged him in saying, take heed, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the leaven of of Herod. You know, leaven being evil. You know, take heed of that evil. And they reasoned among themselves and said, is it because we have no bread? It sounded to me Jesus may have was a little, Yeshua was maybe a little perturbed, you know, with the fact that what was going on. And so, but Jesus being aware of it said to them, why do you reason because you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive nor understand? Is your heart still hardened? Having eyes, do you not remember seeing? And having ears, do you not hear? Do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000? And how many baskets of fragments did you take up? And they said 12. And then he asked them, when I broke the 7 for the 4,000, and how many large baskets of full fragments did you take up? They said 7. You know, and he said to them, well, how is it that you don't understand? You know, what was so interesting about the story, because in Mark, just in that same chapter, you know, that was a chapter where it says Yeshua had set them aside, and he took the 7 loaves of bread, and he fed the 4,000, and he's thinking, did y'all just forget that? Did y'all just forget what happened? How could you forget? Well, come on now. Isn't that us? God will do some things for us in the next day. We done forgot. Or we don't remember until we are in trouble again. Oh, Lord, help me. Oh, Lord, do this, do that. Don't you remember that I did do this? You know, maybe be a little more appreciative. I don't think God is that petty, you know. But perhaps just to teach us a little bit and to teach us to trust him a little bit more, you know. Look, we just sung that song about us withholding nothing. Withholding nothing. All right. I don't believe God withholds anything from us as well. I really don't believe. He may delay, and there's purpose in that delay. Maybe there's purpose. The purpose is for you to find him. Not to find him, but to really recognize who he is in this situation, in this moment in your life? Or am I out there, and I'm guilty of this, trying to just do it on my own? You know, do it on my own. And so the Lord is saying, just remember who I am. Remember what I've done for you. Israelites, remember the manna in the wilderness? And y'all complain. Remember. All right? Look, also, I'm hoping that this time would be a time for me to renew and to restore. And I believe that, did we get the right definition up there? Nope. Somehow I messed that one up. So, but to renew, to restore, to make new again, that makes sense. To renew, to make new again. All right, to restore, to bring back to or put back into former or original state. You see people, their headlights on their cars, they kind of get that little dull gray, and then you can go buy that stuff. Then they promise you that you can restore it back to the proper, back to its new condition, maybe for a day. And then that oxidation just comes right back, and that lens is looking, that's not really a restoration, We're looking for that restoration, that God would give us that. He really restores our soul. We pray for that. Lord, restore our souls. We pray for that. And so in Psalms 51, 10, 13, it says, create in me a clean heart, O God. Right? Renew a loyal spirit within me. Do not banish me from your presence, and do not take your Holy Spirit from me. Restore to me the joy of your salvation, and make me willing to obey. Then I will teach your ways to rebels, and they will return to you. Listen, we just got finished with a 50-week course on discipleship. Why is verse 13 so important? Because, Lord, I will teach your ways to rebel. I want to be a DM, and that's where God is calling. I believe he's calling us all there. That this is not just about me. All right. James, what are you doing with this here? All right. Who are you talking to? Pastor just sat up here and talked about, his sister and his family. And some of us may be thinking, oh, it's too late. And it's never too late. It's the 80-year-old woman demonstrated that by going back and getting her degree. All right. My nephew got his second degree in cybersecurity. I'm like, I think I can do that. I might be going back to school and getting into cybersecurity. I think that would be kind of fun. I think, until the terrorists come. All right. But anyhow, restore. And finally, I pray that as I move into this next season in my life, that there would be a time of rejoicing. I just thought about what went on this morning, and we got up and we picked them up and we put them down, and we just celebrated and rejoiced in who the Lord was. Philippians 4:4 says, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I will rejoice. Rejoice. Choose to rejoice. Sit around talking, ain't nothing to rejoice about. What are you talking about? You're breathing this morning. And now that you're breathing this morning, that's what I love about John, because he's always trying to get us to think about, what is it that you're going to do today that's going to glorify the Father? Who is it that you're going to touch? What is it that you can say? And look, and I know all of us are not as dynamic as Pastor. But you know what? Some people who need to be touched don't need a dynamic person touching them. They need that quiet spirit. Hi, Sister Jane. How are you today? Because somebody like me might scare them away. You see what I'm saying? So, God, what is it? Rejoice. Choose to rejoice. Find it. It's out there. Psalms 5:11 says this, but let all those rejoice who put their trust in you. Let them ever shout for joy because you defend them. That's enough to shout right there. To know that I am covered by God. Let those also who love your name be joyful in you. Let those choose to be joyful. Choose to rejoice. It's not just going to, look, you can sit all day and be as sour as a lemon as you and y'all know them people. You work with them. Some of them live in your house with you. Some of them are your parents. That was my dad. I feed you. Well, gee, Dad, can you do something else other? I told my dad one time, I said, look, I ain't going to eat your food no more. Well, until I started feeling like the prodigal son, it was like, okay, now, so what will we be eating? I said, okay, that was kind of stupid. You know what I'm saying? And reevaluated what was going on. But listen, choose to rejoice. Do it every day. I mean, seriously, every day. Every day, God gives us something that we can say, thank you, Lord. Every single day. I listened to the story John was saying about his brother being in the hospital. That was me a few years back. I was in the hospital. I was in for liver failure. And I didn't even look. I was so clueless. I didn't even know what was going on. I went to see my doctor. He said, go see this person. I ran to go see that person. And then she was like, we're going to admit you into the hospital. And I'm like, why? And it was like, phew. She says, we've already got you signed in. And so I went to the hospital, got there. And so and the strangest thing, too, I was calling my mom as they were calling me to go to the back. And so I was like, Mom, I'm at the hospital. And then I hit that portion of the hospital where the phone just kind of, no signal. Oh, man, why did I do that? Because now Mom was like, he just called me from the hospital, and he just went away. Mom was worried. I couldn't really call her till like the next day because then my phone died. And I was telling the story to, I said, because you can see I talk. And I was telling the story to the nurse. And she said, let me see your phone. I got a phone just like that. Here's my charger. Charged the phone up, called my mom. Hey, baby, you okay? Yeah. I'm fine, Mom. Pastor remembered that. And they put me on something, and we prayed. And even in the hospital, I am who I am. And one of the ladies came up to me, and she said, I just wish everybody here was like you, because I'm laughing and telling jokes. And she looking at me probably like, you're dying. You do know you're dying, right? And I'm like, so what? If I die, I die. I found my place. And so they put me on this medicine called prednisone. And within days, my enzyme levels, which should have been in the like the 10s and the 40s and the 50s, mine was 5,000, which indicated that my liver had shut down. And I was there for a transplant. And then the ladies, my doctor said, your numbers are dropping drastically. Now, I don't know if it was prednisone or it was just the glory of God saying, this is not how you're going to go. And boom, to this day, I feel great, man. I tell you, never no transplant, no more prednisone. It's done, you see. And we say, won't he do it? Well, won't he do it? Won't he do it? He will do it. Do you believe he'll do it? I believe he'll do it. I believe he'll do it. So, listen. To end this thing, the takeaway. Solomon calls us, of all the sheets, I don't have it in my folder. So I'm going to read it from back there. Solomon calls us to accept life, enjoy it, a day at a time, and be satisfied. We must never be satisfied with ourselves, but we must be satisfied with what God gives us in this life. Stop comparing what you got to what other people's got and what you ain't got. And he got this. He got a Tesla. Well, okay, he got a Tesla, but you got a Corolla. Did it get you to work this morning? All right? If we grow in character and godliness, because that's what he's looking for, right? And if we live by faith, that's what he's looking for. He don't care about your Tesla. Then we will be able to say with Paul, I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances are. Yay, right? Rejoice, folks. It's a choice. Amen? Amen. Amen. So that's all I got for you. That's all I got for you. I thank y'all so much. Just a quick prayer. Father, we thank you for this time. I thank you that for every word that you gave me. I thank you for those that you have put before me. I pray, Father, that the words that were spoken did not fall on deaf ears. But all of us, God, would take a look at where we are and that we would take the time to renew, to restore, to rest, to get back in line with you. And then when all's said and done, Father, that we would rejoice because you are the one that gives us joy, real joy. We thank you for all that you've done. We thank you for all that you've given and all that you're yet to give. And we thank you in the name of Yeshua Christ. Amen. Amen. All right. Pastor.
Thank you for tuning in to another life-changing message from Kingdom Life Community. If today's message blessed you, please like, comment, and subscribe. But most importantly, share. Share this message with your family, friends, coworkers, or anyone else you think needs to hear this word. You never know how it will impact them. We pray that you have a blessed week, and remember to live the kingdom life. We'll see you soon.